This is a man called Joseph James D'Angelo Jr. He's born just after me on November the 8th, 1945. He committed 13 murders, 50 rapes and 120 burglaries across California between 1973 and 1986 and got away with it for 30 years. It wasn't until 2018 that he was finally brought to justice. Michelle McNamara, who wrote the book I'm referring to, I'll Be Gone in the Dark, named him the Golden State Killer in 2013. And an FBI initiative in 2016, we're talking about a long after the case, there's 30 years after the last killing, to find him, and he finally gets brought to justice in 2018 and finally is sentenced in 2020. This is a prolific killer and a prolific rapist. Let's take it back to the very beginning. He was born the son of an army sergeant, the eldest of 4 children, to his mother Kathleen. He had 2 sisters and a younger brother. Father was stationed in Germany in the wake of the war, and it's said, again, never substantiated, that Joe Jr., because his father was called Joseph D'Angelo, Joe Jr. witnessed the rape of his 7-year-old sister by 2 airmen. We've never been able to establish whether that was actually the case. The sisters also claimed that he was abused by his father, but we don't know. All we can know is that there are all sorts of allegations, but it's no more than that. He was certainly a very good baseball player. Extremely good. And a bright student. He joined the US Navy in 1964 and saw service in Vietnam on a ship. In 1966, he came out. I think he did just under 2 years. Came out and studied police science. And then he got a degree in criminal justice. He was quite a handsome young man. Again, if you look him up, you'll find pictures of him as a younger man. And guess what? He joined the police force. He joined the police force in Visalia in California. And he was in the burglary unit. This becomes significant.
Oh, that is significant. That is significant.
His personal life was slightly sort of, how can I put it, not entirely conventional. In May 1970, he got engaged to a woman called Bonnie Jean Caldwell, who was a classmate from Sierra College, but she broke it off after he threatened to shoot her if she wouldn't marry him.
Probably not the best way to get someone to marry you.
No. But in November 1973, he married Sharon Huddle, and they moved to Citrus Heights, Sacramento, and they had 3 daughters. So far, so normal, you'd have thought. He had a somewhat tricky job history because eventually he was fired from the police department for stealing a hammer and covering it up, among other things. But again, I refer you to all the very great details there are in Michelle McNamara's book. Between 73 and 76, while in Visalia, where he'd worked in the burglary unit, he committed at least 120 burglaries. That's at least. He was also, because he was clever, he was a meticulous planner. He would look at the property. He would always plan the escape routes. He would always leave windows open so there was a quick way of getting out. He was clever. And he had a lot of police training, and he had a natural appetite for burglary. But, and here's where the story gets darker, towards the end of his period of these what are known as the Visalia killings, or the Visalia ransackings, in September 1975, he broke into the house of a man called Claude Snelling, and he attempted to abduct Snelling's 16-year-old daughter, who was a cheerleader. Snelling realised what was happening and fought with a man who was wearing a ski mask. At this point, he's not in plain sight. He's wearing a ski mask with, eye holes cut in it. The daughter escapes, and Snelling is shot twice and killed. This is the first killing. There was another, not long afterwards, in December 1975, he entered another house, which the police by accident happened to be staking out, looking for the ransacker, the burglar, and he shot at them and ran away. Again, as was to happen quite often, he often left a bicycle. I know it sounds wonderfully old-fashioned, but he often left a bicycle nearby that, and then if the police followed him, he would hop off the bike and jump over fences. They got out of the slow to get out of the cruiser. But he was a great planner. And I'm not admiring this. I'm simply saying you have to look at it as a very careful and methodical man who had, after all, trained in criminal justice, police science, had been a police officer. Okay, in 1976, D'Angelo and his wife and their growing family move to Sacramento. And so begins one of the most relentless sets of rapes I can remember. He targets middle-class women living alone in one-storey houses that offer a route of escape. He often broke in before the rape to, in a sense, case the joint. Very old-fashioned phrase, I know that. To make sure he left a window ajar.
Yeah, that's all. He was always prepared, wasn't he? Like you said.
He would sometimes leave... he would often bind his victims with shoelaces, and sometimes he left them there in preparation. I'm trying to convey the feeling of this is a man who is not acting randomly. He's incredibly premeditated. He absolutely sets up his targets. And in the period between 1976 and 1979, and again, if you look up, there's a most extraordinary website called goldenstatekiller.com, in which it lists each and every crime.
There's just so many.
It's extraordinary, but it's a very interesting website in detail. The burglary and rape, burglary and rape, murder, burglary and rape. It's a litany of horrifying crime.
He was so vile. He was like, he would rape someone, and then it would be pitch black, and then they'd wait like hours to and then when they moved, he'd still be there.
Yes. He ransacked the house.
He'd still be there, and he'd just wait. So that's why it's called I'll Be Gone in the Dark.
Yes.
You don't know when he's going to go, so you don't move.
No.
You
and
wait
the women
and
were
think he's gone,
women were terrified.
And he's not gone, he's still there.
Yeah.
He's just like, he gives me absolute chills. Vile.
Yes, I gave this book to Mo.
I was so frightened. I was reading it in Japan, and like an island in the China Sea, which was so remote, and obviously no one could be there, and I was absolutely terrified someone was going to break into my room and attack me, because that's how scary it is.
It's very scary.
So scary.
But this is a relentless pattern over a period of 3 years. I mean, just to give you an idea of how obsessive he was, when he was still in the burglary stage, the Visalia burglary stage, on one day, November the 30th, 1974, when he was only 29 years old, he ransacked 12 houses in a single day. This is a machine, an obsessive, a narcissist, who is, on the surface, leading a perfectly ordinary life.